to Menardi's Dust Chronicles podcast, where today we will discuss the importance of bag-to-tube sheet fit. Today I'm here with Jerry Lanting. He's our senior regional sales manager, and he covers the Gulf Coast area. So Jerry, thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you, Christy.
Okay, so let's jump right on in, why don't we?
All right.
So why do you think this detail of bag-to-tube sheet fit gets overlooked so often during filter changeouts?
Look, I think it all boils down to being uneducated. And that doesn't mean that people don't know what they're doing. It just means they just don't know. And so that's where I think we come in and we play a key role with our customers is we come in and educate our all of our customers on why that is extremely important.
So what actually happens when a filter bag doesn't seat or seal correctly in the tube sheet?
Well, you'll get bypass, right? And things will, always I preach this all the time, path of least resistance, right? So if you don't have a proper fit in there, you are going to have emissions. Now, emissions can be bad, it can be good. I mean, it was never good, but it can be bad in a lot of different ways.
Okay, so how does poor bag-to-tube sheet fit impact the customers care about what the customers care about most, like emissions, housekeeping, downtime?
Well, as far as emissions, again, that's what kind of leading into that last question, right? If you're getting bypass, that means you're getting emissions, and emissions can be bad in a lot of different ways. One, and probably the most important, is the safety of the plant employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of these things that our bags are catching every day can be very toxic, can be very harmful to the plant workers, right? So it's important to catch that. The other thing is, if it's a process collector, you could be collecting the product that you're selling, and how important is it to have as much of that as possible?
Right.
So that fit is crucial. As far as housekeeping and downtime, look, if you don't have a proper fit and you ruin your bags, what's going to happen is you're going to create more downtime. That means more change outs, more plant, and with more downtime becomes more cost to not only cost of filter bags and labor it takes to put them, but also you're not producing product at the time. So downtime, keeping a plant running as long as possible is critical.
Okay, great. So can you share a real example where fixing the fit solved a much bigger problem?
Absolutely. One example comes to mind. A steel plant we do a lot of business with. We put in a new set of bags, and we changed a bag. They went from woven to a fiberglass because they were seeing some temperature issues. So we went ahead and moved them to a high temp bag, fiberglass bag. It's a reverse air bag, and we did an integral fiberglass cuff, which is standard in a lot of bags. Well, they called me up and said that the bags were popping out of the tube sheet hose.
Oh, wow.
So I went there, and Thanksgiving week. Matter of fact, I called my wife and told her, I says, hey, you want to go see your mom for Thanksgiving? And guess what? I mean, we did. So we got to go Thanksgiving week. We flew to Texas, and my wife got to see her family for Thanksgiving. So that was a bonus thing, right?
Right.
But I went out there and I saw this. So I ended up miking the holes of this customer, and come to find out there was a lot of inconsistencies in their tube sheet size, which is common. See it all the time. And when I say inconsistent, I mean, I'm talking about differences of thousands of an inch, couple thousands of an inch. So not much, right? And so what we did is we changed their cuff to a separate cuff, a aramid felt cuff. First thing I asked them, what was their inlet temperature? And they said it was under 325, never reached above 350. So I knew I could go aramid instead of PTFE felt to keep the cost down for the customer. And so we moved them to an aramid felt cuff that gave them a little bit more leeway that will be able to make up the difference in those inconsistency tube sheet, solve the problem. Bags have been in there for 8 years.
So great information, but for those of us who aren't in the field, like myself, you keep saying the word miking. What does that mean?
That's when we take a set of calipers and we actually measure the tube sheet hole, the size. We measure the diameter of it. We also measure the thickness of the tube sheet. All of those things can play a critical part because we have seen some very thick tube sheets out there. And our standard DBSR does not account for some of those thicker ones. We have to make a special one for those. So it's always that's what Mike, is we are measuring the hole.
To gather information to get a better fit.
Absolutely.
Okay,
it's
great.
so crucial.
All right, thank you. So what are some warning signs that someone like yourself or a plant's maintenance crew should look for that point to a fit issue?
Well, one of the things when I'm doing baghouse training, on-site baghouse training, which I probably do a dozen different plants a year, right? And one of the things that I talk about is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually checklists, right? Maintenance checklists. And I know that that's not applicable for every plant. I get that. But these are just some of the things that are recommendations. And one of the recommendations that we recommend weekly is opening up the door and looking at, if it's possible, and looking at the tube sheet. Look at your clean side of your baghouse. That tells that tells the whole story, right? If you have dirt on the clean side, you have a problem. And I've had this asked many a times. When is it acceptable to have dirt on the clean side? It's called a clean side for a reason. It's supposed to be clean.
All right, great information there. So what is one misconception customers have about snap bands or tops or sealing that you hear all the time?
Look, I hear it all the time. Well, that, it snaps in, they hear that snap, right? That pop. And they say, oh, it's a good fit. And that's not always the case. I've heard that pop and be able to turn that snap band like it's nothing, and that will create bypass. So it's just being educated on what a really good fit does.
So you're saying that close enough is not always good enough?
Absolutely not. No. A proper fit is a proper fit, and that means that it's nice and snug.
Nice, thank you. So how does focusing on proper fit change the conversation from price per bag per se to long-term performance?
Well, that's when we preach all the time about total cost of ownership, right? It's something that it's the Menardi way, total cost of ownership, and that becomes when you get a proper bag, the proper fit. That is your total cost of ownership. It is our responsibility. We take on that responsibility of making sure that we are getting you the longest life, right? And one of the things that I always ask every plant when they call me up and they say they have a bag issue or whatever, or even when they don't even tell me they have a bag issue, and they said, okay, I'll always ask, what's your mode of failure? Why is your bag, why are you changing out your bags? Well, is it because it's just due to change out the bags, or is there an actual failure, and what caused that failure? Once I know what that failure is, I can either say, yep, you're in the right bag, or I can put you in something else, or change the fit of the bag, and then be able to extend that life.
So asking the right questions up front matter more than just quoting what's on the spec sheet they give you.
Absolutely. And I tell this all the time, when I go to let's just take a cement plant for example. Matter of fact, we'll go with a power plant, right? I don't know how to make power. I don't know how to generate power. That's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise, I know how to make a filter bags. I know how baghouses are supposed to run. I'm the expert in that. And that's what I portray to my customers and everybody that I go see is let my expertise and what I know help you.
Great. So what's your go-to advice when someone says, we've always used that size, it should work?
Look, don't always go with the status quo, right? Never do that. Always go with what's right. Not, that kind of goes back to the educational part, right? It's important that we educate people in the field, not the plant manager. Well, the plant manager is good to be educated, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't stop with the plant manager or the maintenance manager. The most important is teaching the people that mess with the bags and that are in the baghouses day in and day out. They need to know what to see and what to look for.
Well, why do we spend so much time training them? Is because Menardi cares, or?
Absolutely, we care, because if I can help your plant, if I can keep you running, and I can keep, you see value in Menardi, right? And then we see value in you, and it becomes a great partnership.
Thank you, Jerry. So if you had to sum it up in one sentence, why is Bag-to-Tubesheet fit non-negotiable?
In my opinion, it's one of the first things I look at. So it's usually the biggest failure rate out there, because a lot of stuff is, I mean, there's too many standardizations that people do. Oh, this size fits everything, and it's really not. So I see it all the time. I know it's more than one sentence, but
Right.
I had to, get it out, and I just think that it's extremely important, the education part of it.
So before we close, Jerry, when should a customer call their filter supplier instead of guessing?
I think you should call your filter supplier anytime you have a question, regardless of what it is, whether it's catastrophic or it's just a simple question and you just want to know. That's the way I give. That's how I tell all of my plant managers and maintenance managers, and even all the way down to the dust collectors. They all have my number. Call me, text me, let me know. I mean, I think you should, because you need to be educated, right? And at the end of the day, if your filter supplier can't answer your questions, or unwilling to answer questions, or even answering your phone, look, call Menardi, man. We would love to come out and help you, because that's what we do. That's what we strive to be good at.
So in other words, call us because we care.
Absolutely, we care.
All right, Jerry. So we're going to wrap this up. I appreciate your time and your knowledge. And everyone, go to our website or our YouTube. You can find all of our Dust Chronicles podcasts there. Until next time, we'll see you.
All right. Thank you, Christy.
All right. Thanks.